Good morning, afternoon, or evening. My name is Shannon, and today we are going to be doing a very, very large collective book haul. It has been months since I filmed my last book haul, and in those months I have acquired quite a few books. Some I've already read, but I thought I would give you guys a collective book haul, especially since yesterday I also went to Barnes and just bought a bunch of books. So I have like 20 books here. Anywho, with that being said, let's just get started. So the first book I picked up was When the Moon Hatched by Sarah Parker. I've seen so many incredible things about this book, and I'm just very, very intrigued to see what the hype is all about. But this book is about a girl named Rave, I believe, and she is a bounty hunter trying to accomplish this mission, and she ends up getting caught by the Guild of Nobles, and then a prince stumbles upon her in prison, and things just kind of go on from there. But it seems very interesting, and I'm just very intrigued to see what it's all about. Next, I have not read Powerless yet, so mind your business, but I decided to pick up Powerful by Lauren Roberts. This is a novella between Powerless and Reckless in that series. Powerless itself is kind of a magic Hunger Games type of vibe from what I've come to understand about it, and this is just a novella between it. I know I'm going to end up reading it before I get to Reckless, so I decided to pick it up. Next, we have Swift and Saddled by Lila Sage. This is the second book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series. You know I am always down for a small town cowboy romance. I loved this. It is about Ada and Weston, and Ada has recently arrived in the town of Meadowlark to start working at the Rebel Blue Ranch, helping with the construction project that Weston is undergoing. They meet at the bar the night before she's about to start working. They don't know who they are. They kind of hook up. And then lo and behold, the next day she finds out this man is her boss. Anywho, it was very good. I rated it, I think, 4 stars. I didn't like it as much as I liked Done and Dusted, which I rated 5 stars, but it is still a very good book, and I'm very excited for the last book in the series. Next, I picked up the paperback version of Happy Place by Emily Henry. I read this last month, or actually I listened to it, and I loved it so much. I rated it 5 stars. This book is about Harriet and Wynne, and they have recently broken up a couple months ago, and they go to their friend group's beach vacation, and they're going to tell everyone that they're broken up, but then something happens where they're not really able to, and so they're basically pretending to be together for this whole trip. And while all that's going on, we are flipping back and forth from the past to the current timeline, and I literally loved it. It reminded me, timeline-wise, of 500 Days of Summer, and I love that movie. But like, this book, it's perfect to me. I loved it so much. The next book I got is Falling for Gage by Mia Sheridan. I have talked endlessly about how much I love Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan, and this book is based in the same universe. It is about Gage Buchanan, who is very briefly in Archer's Voice, but he ends up having a one-night stand, and then she shows up in his hometown, and I'm just very excited to get back into this universe, and that's the main reason I got it, but I'm sure I will appreciate this book as well. Next, I picked up the paperback version of Carrie Soto is Back. I flipped between listening to the audiobook and reading this when I read it at the beginning of this month. I will not be giving my full thoughts until my reading wrap-up for this month, but I did really enjoy this book. It's about Carrie Soto. She has previously held the title for the most Grand Slams won in tennis, and just as her record is about to be beaten, she decides to come out of retirement and fight for her title. And I loved this. I thought it was done so well, and I would highly recommend it. Next, I picked up Night Shift by Annie Crown. I thought this sounded very cute. It is about Kendall and Vincent, and Kendall works at the library and she ends up running into Vincent, who is arguably the most popular guy on campus, and they end up hooking up, and it's kind of like a push and pull thing. I'm not gonna lie, I did not love this, and I don't know that I would recommend it, just because the conflict happened very early on, and then the rest of the book was kind of smut, and I really was just reading it to get it over with so I could start a new book. But I would never tell anyone to not read it if you feel like you would enjoy it. Next, I picked up The Chase by Elle Kennedy. If you saw my most recent video, you would know I have been on a bit of an Elle Kennedy binging spree kind of thing. It all started with this because I saw this book at the store and I read the description and it literally sounded like something I would adore, and that turned out to be true. I rated this 4.5 stars. It is about Colin and Summer has just recently transferred to Broward University because of something that happened at her last school, and she ends up living with Colin and Dallas and Hollis. I think that's their names. But they are all rooming together and they've known each other a while because her older brother, Dean De Laurentiis, if you recognize that name, it is because it is from the Off-Campus series. He is one of the best friends in the original quartet, and I just absolutely loved the tie-in of that, and still hockey romances. It was just so good. I literally loved it. Then I picked up Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I recently read 2 of her books last month. I really enjoyed those, and so I decided to pick this up. This book is about Emma and Justin, and they have both been very unlucky in love. They've experienced that every time they date someone, when they break up, the person they were dating winds up finding the person they're going to marry as the next person they date. And so they decide that if they date each other and break up, the next person they'll date will be their husband. But life kind of gets in the way in a crazy way for these characters, and I'm very excited to see how this plays out. Next, I picked up Wild Love by Elsie Silver. I have not yet read this. It is on my TBR for this month. I don't know that I'm going to get to it, unfortunately. But this is about Ford and Rosie, and a little girl ends up showing up to Ford's doorstep and is like, "You're my dad." And he's like, "No, I'm not." And she's like, "Yes, I am. I am a child from when you donated sperm." And he's like, "Oh." So we have a new single dad trope, and then Rosie just happens to be his best friend's little sister, and I always eat up best friend's brother's best friend trope, and I'm very excited to see where this is going to go. Then I picked up Taming Seven by Chloe Walsh. This is the 5th book in the Boys of Tillman series. This is Claire and Gibbsy's book, the book that we have all been waiting for. I am so excited to read this, but I do need to read Saving and Redeeming 6 first. I just have, my TBR is way too big. If you guys want me to do a video where I recount my physical TBR, I will, because it's been months since I last put that video up, and I honestly have no idea what it's at anymore. But I'd be intrigued to see, so if you guys want to see that, I will do it. But this is Claire and Gibbsy's book. I have loved this series so much since the start of it. It is a rugby series based in Ireland. The romances are a lot deeper than you'd expect them to be, but they're so good and wholesome, and I just absolutely adore this series. And I was very glad I got to pick this up. Next, we have Funny Story by Emily Henry. Last month, I read 2 of Emily Henry's books, and I loved them both. She knows how to write a good fictional man, if I've ever seen one. This book is about Daphne and Miles, and Daphne and Miles are in a very similar boat, where both of their exes ended up leaving them for each other. And so they end up becoming roommates because they're both in the predicament that they now need someone to live with. And while they are living together, they happen to be posting some misleading photos on social media implicating that they are in fact in a relationship now. And I saw a TikTok that described Miles as Nick Miller from New Girl. If you know, you know. That was all I needed to make me instantly excited to read this. Literally put it on my TBR cart. I'm so excited to read this. Okay, those were all the books from the past couple months. Now we're getting into the books I bought yesterday. So if you've been watching my channel for a while, you'll know that I have multiple copies of certain books that I really love and just appreciate, and I want to collect them kind of. And so I picked up this beautiful copy. Let me put it up here. This beautiful copy of Little Women. I just absolutely adore this specific collection of classic novels because they are so, so beautiful. I have a couple of them now, but I definitely wanted to get my favorite books, especially in this series. Along with that, we have Pride and Prejudice in the same publication series. I read this, I think, in March. I have adored the movie for such a long time. I've wanted to read the book. I finally got to it, and oh my god, I wish I had read it sooner. This is a 6-star book for me. I think it is absolutely perfect, and odds are I will end up rereading this at least once a year now because it's just perfect. I think I only have like 4 books that are 6 stars, and this is one of them. I just absolutely adore this book, and I have nothing but the best things to say about it. Then I picked up The Man Who Died Twice by Richard Osman. This is the second book in the Thursday Murder Club series. I really enjoyed the Thursday Murder Club, and I definitely wanted to continue the series. This series is about a group of people that come together to try to solve unsolved mysteries, and crimes are just like starting to happen around them that they're trying to solve, and it's so good. It kind of reminds me of Only Murders in a Building, that TV show. They're all in a nursing home, so just like the picture of that in my mind is absolutely perfect. And once again, another crime happens around them, and I'm very excited to see how it plays out. Then I got The Play by Elle Kennedy. This is the 3rd book in the Briar You series. Unfortunately, they didn't have the 2nd book, The Risk. I really wanted to grab it, but they didn't have it. Anywho, this book is about Hunter and Demi, and Hunter has kind of sworn off women due to something that happened in the previous books, and he ends up befriending Demi, and she's completely off limits because she has a boyfriend. But something ends up happening where her and her boyfriend break up, and all of a sudden she's starting to make a play at him to be her rebound after her relationship, and it's very good. It was very interesting to see his love story after he was in a bit of a love triangle in the 1st book in the series, but I really enjoyed it. Next, this one is for my sister Caitlin. If you're watching, I picked up Wicked by Gregory Maguire. My older sister and I have been talking about this upcoming movie, the books, for so long. She is the biggest theater fan I think I've ever met in my life, and she convinced me to pick up Wicked before the movie comes out. I've seen the Broadway show, but I'm very, very intrigued to read the book and see all the underlying themes that my sister was talking about. And if you're watching this, Caitlin, you should know this was the last copy in the entire store, and I got it. Next, I picked up How the King of Elfhame Learned to Hate Stories by Holly Black. To my understanding, this is a novella about Cardan before and during the Cruel Prince trilogy. I'm very, very intrigued to read this, but I do want to finish the Cruel Prince trilogy first. Ever since I read the first book, I've been only growing in anticipation to read the next ones, and I'm very interested to see things from Cardan's perspective, so I wanted to pick this up. Next, I picked up The King of Sloth by Anna Huang. This is the 4th book in the Kings of Sin series. This book is about Xavier and Sloane, and Xavier is the heir in his family's billion-dollar corporation, and Sloane is his publicist. And she can't stand him. She basically just tolerates him. And something happens where they're forced to work together closer than ever, and things just kind of go on from there. But I will auto buy any book Anna Huang comes out with, so I just had to pick it up while I was there. Next, I got The Legacy by Elle Kennedy. I previously didn't feel the need to get this, but it is the 5th and final book in the Off-Campus series. This book is basically like a novella a couple years after the first books take place, just to see where their lives are pretty much, and we get to see them just living, which I always love. Now, I have a bit of a disclaimer before I pull up this book. I have never been a fan of Colleen Hoover. I read one of her books. I did not like it at all, and I decided I didn't really want to read her anymore. But I desperately want to watch the movie when it comes out for It Ends With Us. So, me being the person I am, I have to read it first. And so I picked up It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I probably don't even need to describe this book to you. I don't know the full story about this book, but I know the main romance is Lily and Ryle, and they fall in love, but he turns out to be kind of abusive, and then she runs into her first love, Atlas, and things are just kind of messy. So I don't know how to feel about this, but I want to read it before the movie comes out, so I got it. Next, I picked up The Dixon Rule by Elle Kennedy. I read The Graham Effect at the beginning of this year. I think it was the first book I read this year, and I literally loved it so much. And so I'm very, very intrigued to continue this series. This book is about Diana and Shane. We previously saw them in The Graham Effect, and Diana kind of can't stand him. He seems to have a mission of hooking up with everyone on her cheerleading team, and she's basically like, stay away from them, stay away from me. But Shane's ex comes back into the picture that broke his heart, and so he decides to tell her that he's dating Diana. So it's a little fake dating arrangement, and I think they're also neighbors. I'm just very intrigued to continue this series and see Gigi and Ryder from the first book, and I'm just very excited to read it. The last 2 books I got are probably the ones I'm most excited about, not because of what they're about. Don't get me wrong, they sound really good, but they're absolutely beautiful. The first one is Heavenbreaker by Sarah Wolf. Okay, first off, the cover, and then, are you kidding me? And then the end papers. I just can't. I really can't. I'm so excited to read this, and if the cover looks familiar to you, the same thought occurred to me, that this cover reminded me of the fourth wing cover, and it's because they have the same publisher. Anywho, this book, we don't even get a name in the synopsis, but it seems to be about a girl who is hell bent on revenge and killing basically everyone in House Hautclair, but it seems like maybe she starts to fall for one of them, and I just think it's going to be very, very interesting because I literally love revenge stories, and I just think it'll be good. Next, this is also from the same publisher, Five Broken Blades by Mai Corland. And now for the spine on this one, like a moment of appreciation. What the hell is that? It is legitimately art. And then the end papers on this one, I mean, I can't. It just, they really, I feel like publishers are really upping their game in terms of first edition and that kind of stuff because they realize how much of a draw it has. Anywho, this is kind of also a revenge story, each in the way that the most 5 dangerous liars in the realm are coming for this king's head. They all can agree that they want him dead, but only one of them can end up on top, basically. And even the tagline for the book is "Let the best liar win." And I mean, like, what the is that? It sounds so good, and I'm incredibly excited about all of these books I've collected in the past couple months. You may have seen some of them already, either in my TBR video, maybe even a reading wrap-up video, but I sincerely hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. All of my social media is linked down below for you guys. I hope you guys are all having an absolutely wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!